Howdy peeps, hope you're doing well. It's been a little while since I've done a video. My phone's all the way over there, so I'm not going to go and check it out. So there was a few comments. Well, there was a comment left recently, Mr. Victor Santos, and you're saying about maybe I should lose the hoodie and the dream catchers. I'm like, well, alright, fair enough, but I don't see that making any difference. At the end of the day, people are either going to be interested in the topics or not, and as I've said before, the one thing that most manosphere channels, I suppose the pitfall that they land themselves into is, you know, the channel just becoming an echo chamber, right? So, which I suppose in a way is why, you know, a little bit of I suppose diversity is the word I'm looking for, but I don't mean it in that sense. But before I go into this video, since someone has brought up the topic of dream catchers, I figured I'd go through this one with you guys ever so briefly. So, for those of you that probably don't know, I have made these dream catchers, me, yours truly. You can tell this by the webbing. This was the first one that I've made out of a kit, right? And I mean, it's just a basic dream catcher, right? I've got a few extra pieces of wood, and they give you the plastic coloured silver beads and whatnot, and the white feathers. And I suppose it looks all right. I mean, it's getting a bit tatty. I have dropped it a few times, but this is the first one that I made. It's that thing of you know, sometimes you get hobbies and you have hobbies and you can't do it because you're relying on the weather and something like that, and you know, you're in that situation where you can't be bothered with your air quotes usual routine, right? That might have been, you know, playing the PlayStation, Xbox, PC, whatever it is that you do, where you just sort of like exhaust yourself with it, and it's like, you know, you need a break from that routine. A bit like dating, that's exhausting, and you tend to find yourself, you need to have a break from that as well. Anyway, so the second one that I built, now this one came more in kit form. I'm not going to go into all the ins and outs of dream catchers, I'm just literally just showing off the... So this one has got a couple of pieces of lapis lazuli stone in there, just there, I don't know whether you can see that. And some pheasant feathers going on. Again, the quality of the feathers, I mean, they're nice, they're pretty, I suppose, but yeah. Anyway, the third one that I made, this is since buying all the supplies. This is my personal favourite out of the ones I've made recently. So I've made that one. You got a piece of turquoise up in the top right there. You got some rose quartz here, and you got some citrine there. And these are original crow feathers. They're real crow feathers. Hopefully no crows were harmed in any way, shape or form in the making of this particular dream catcher. But that's what I do to stop the devil playing with my idle thumbs when I'm sat here doing nothing. You know, because sometimes it's just better to be doing. It's not that it helps me concentrate. It helps me get my mind off of things like, I don't know about anyone else, but sometimes when you have a hobby that you enjoy and you've got something on your mind that's bugging you and nothing seems to be working out the way you had intended it to, or you've just had a long day at work and you just can't be bothered with your usual routine and the rigmarole, so it's just like, you know what? And that's just it. That's what I'm going to talk about in this video. Is that the routine and everything else of, you know, dating. Well, I've got something I could bring up on this video about that. Actually, some of you might be able to relate. You know when you meet someone, right, and you know you're sort of paying attention to, you know, what they say versus what they do, you know, seeing if there's any consistency in words being followed up by actions, and you know, you're in that situation of like, you're considering the possibilities of someone being a potential for perhaps something long term. And you get the usual sort of conversations, like I say in other videos, you know, a lot of these chicks can't find a guy to commit. And the reason they can't find a guy to commit is because they're batshit fucking crazy. In some cases, you know, they are just like literally narcissistic as can be, right? The world has to evolve around them. And you know, even to the point of delusional in some cases, you know, it's like, it's amazing to watch, it really is. It's like the stuff that they come out with sometimes, and I see a lot of this, in everyday life, and this is it's what really gets me down, is, you know, seeing the amount of people out there that are broken, right? But not only are they broken to a sense where they can't help themselves to become a better version, only in a negative, with negative traits can they become a better version. They won't actually take any positive out of a situation. You know, they'll take whatever they feel fits their narrative as some sort of victim, and then they'll run with it. And like I say, it's that thing, when you're listening to what people are telling you, you know, and you're sort of thinking, right, well, you know, I've been around the block a few times. I've seen quite a few things. I've heard quite a few things. I've seen the way people act. I've seen the way people act versus the way they talk. And the way I see it is, if they're talking the talk but they're not walking that walk, then there's no point investing a great deal of time in them, because you know that it's all going to be bullshit from the get-go, and no one's got time for bullshit. You know, in one aspect, if these dating, I want to say times, but you know, the period of time of which you're dating someone, and like you're picking up on the red flags, because there wasn't much else. You know, a lot of time there isn't much else with these people. There's, you know, you quite easily pick out red flags, and you know, it's that scenario of, might have a few things in common, and sometimes it might be legit, and other times it might be they are forcing themselves to have things in common with you in order to relate, to sort of suck you in a little bit. And then when it comes to it, you see, say if they're all about putting effort into a relationship and wanting to make it work, because, you know, it's that thing of, no one has ever wanted to commit to them full term. No one has ever offered them marriage or something like that. And sure, a lot of you guys are going to have your own thoughts on that one. And look, even I do to a degree. You got to understand that when I say that there are some people that I would marry, it doesn't necessarily mean I'm going to go running out the next day and, you know, no. It takes a long process, and so it should. Before you come to a conclusion like that, right? There's no point. I think the mistake a lot of people land themselves in is they go headlong into a relationship wanting marriage, not because they actually want to marry the person, but I think it's more of an insecurity. Maybe it's like a fear of abandonment or something like that. Not necessarily always the case. I'm just saying sometimes it might be. And whereas, you know, you're dating someone and you think they're the best thing since sliced bread and all of this, and you're really looking at it through, you know, rose-tinted glasses rather than seeing the reality. And I think it does take a few harsh lessons in order to detach from that rose-tinted glasses. And I think the other problem with that is you can become very sceptical. But I think this is also down to like personal intuition as well. You know, if you're wondering about if there's any red flags, then chances are there are, right? Before you actually go looking for them, but just kick back and pay attention and see what happens. Anyway, long story cut short. I was dating this chick once, and it was that thing like, at the time she didn't have transport for whatever reason. And I suppose like most people, it's like, well, if one of them's got transport and the other hasn't, and obviously the interest in this case obviously was higher from me, right? Like, as in, you're thinking that this person might have potential for long term, right? And they've already told you that no one's going to commit, and you sort of makes you wonder why. And it's like, well, yeah, ask the question again. Why won't anyone commit to you? Anyway, so I've been seeing this chick for a while, and obviously for the most part it was me, doing the driving about and all this shit, which doesn't bother me, right? This isn't about me having the because I used like fuel or time or something. The time pisses me off. The fuel not so much, because it's always fun to go out for a drive, even if it's only just down the road or whatever. But anyway, when this chick got her vehicle back, I was wondering to myself, I wonder, this is how I take a step back to seeing how much effort they're willing to put into a relationship. I thought, okay, let's see what happens. So I was at work. This is obviously a while ago. I was at work, and she was on about getting her vehicle back, and I'm like, oh, okay then, cool. That's good to hear. It's good that you're getting it back. You're getting your wheels of freedom back. This is how I see transport, right? It's people's freedom. It's people's means to get about and go places and do things. Anyway, I was just sort of like playing it cool, just doing my day's work and all that. And she told me about what she intended, places she intended to go now that she'd got her vehicle back. I thought, okay, fair enough. And the first thing that popped in my mind, it's like, right, so you're doing all these things except seeing the one person that you're supposed to be investing your time into because you wanted some sort of future with someone, because you can't find someone to commit, right? So obviously, I just like, as soon as the moment occurred that I realised that I literally wasn't a priority for them, I was like, you know what, fuck it, I'm done. So I didn't bother messaging for about 24 hours or something like that. And there's also a part of me that sort of thinks, well, is this some sort of payback because I said I wanted to help a friend out over a weekend? Right, and you think you're going to fucking punish me because I want to spend time with my friend because they want to go out and look at a few motorbikes because they want to buy a motorbike? Anyway, as the evening progressed, I was chatting away with my mate and we were seeing what we was going to do the next day. I hadn't heard fuck all from this other chick that was, air quotes, supposed to be a girlfriend, as in a bit more than just a girlfriend, right? Early days of a relationship. That was not a Freudian slip. Anyway, I've got another chat about Freudian slips as well, actually. So I spent the Saturday with my mate and we looked at a few bikes and this and that, and I hadn't heard anything back from this chick, and I'm like, okay, this is overnight and throughout the day now. And then I see this post come up about fucking abusive partners or some shit like that, or abusive men or something. I can't remember. You see, the reason I can't remember is because I actually don't give a shit, because that is the way that person is, the constant victim, right? And everyone is always doing them wrong. And it's like, no, it's like, that is a path that you chose to walk, and you're choosing to play the victim when that whole scenario could have been avoided. And I'm assuming that there wasn't a third party involved. I think there was, actually, in my opinion. Not that I really give a fuck. Especially more so now, when you're looking back over the sort of scenario, when you sort of think, well, the first red flag was there from the get-go, even if the kids had, gotten to the age of, moving out and doing their own thing, living their own lives. It still made her a single mum, right? That was, 2 kids, 2 baby daddies, usual story, usual spiel, right? And no one wanted to commit to it. And it's like, well, look at the way you treat people. Who would want to commit to you? Like, really, what would you bring to the table other than your drama, your problems and your peace leave? Not a lot. Oh, great, you bring vehicles as well, so so the other half gets to fix them when you break them. Yeah, great, no. Yeah, but no. You know, not with that kind of... If the attitude was a bit different, or the mentality or the mindset, or there was a bit more involved when it comes to other people in their life, if it wasn't just about them, I'd have been a bit more inclined. But c'est la vie. Anyway, so... yeah, so there was nothing, and then by the Sunday I was like, you know what, fuck it, I'm done. Because I thought about it, and I thought, you know what, you ain't bothered messaging me. I've tried to be there for you. I've been your listening ear, as it were. Not so much a shoulder to cry on. It would have been crocodile tears anyway. Just saying. Not from me. I wouldn't bother crying over someone else's spilt milk. It ain't my problem. It's a bit harsh, but it's true. But yeah, sort of long, tall and short of that one is that there was no closure with that one either. It was just left, right? So there was no comment, there was no response text message or anything like that. It was just left for 24 hours. Then a post was put up onto the social media about abusive partners or whatever shit it was. And I was sat there and I remember reading it, thinking to myself, hang on a second, you just blatantly fucking stonewalled me. You just blatantly ignored me for the last over 24 hours. Now that you've got your wheels back and you're able to go about and see people and go places. And again, I'll talk about being a priority in a relationship. There wasn't even any mention of coming to see me over that weekend for any reason. No, there was nothing. So that tells me all I needed to know. That was why walking away from that was a lot easier. Because it's like, well, if you're not investing anything, why the fuck should I? Why should anyone else? You see, this is why you can't find someone to commit. Because you aren't willing to put the fucking time into someone that is willing to put the time into you. Right? That's why no one's going to commit to you. You don't bring anything to the table. Other than your drama, your problems and your peace leave. And most guys don't want dramas and problems, but they will they will take the peace leave, but even I wouldn't on that. It's like, no, you're all right. That's when you start getting like the potential for attachment issues. Is when things start getting a little bit more like that. You know, you start getting a bit more involved in a relationship. Things become a bit more intimate. Then this is when you start facing problems. You know, this is when them rose tinted glasses go on, and you start refusing to see all the red flags that are out there. You know, and you know that they're there. Anyway, with that, I didn't hear anything from that chick for quite a while, you know, and I generally don't block people. It's like, no, I want to hear what you got to say. Well, I want to have a good laugh as to what you have to say as to why you fucking ignored me for the best part of 24 hours. Put up a social post about fucking abusive partners and boyfriends and men being shit or whatever the fuck it was. It could have been any of those, I can't remember. I don't really care, to be honest. Truth is, that particular chick isn't a victim of any of the things she claims to be. She is the actual perpetrator. She's the instigator of the situations that she puts herself in, whether real or fantasy. I'll best put that one out there as well. Again, some of these people aren't living on the same fucking planet as the rest of us. You know, they have these little scenarios they make up in their head, and they'll run with it. They'll tell you and they'll run with it, and they think you believe them as well. And it's just sort of like, you got to be crazy. So, no, you're all right. No, I'm not believing you and your shit. You can fuck off. Anyway, so with that, like I see she put this post up a while after all that had happened. Can't remember how long it was too. Maybe 3 weeks. I don't know. And she was complaining. And I thought this was so ironic. She was complaining about, oh, if there's another woman in the picture, then at least have the decency to tell me and all this. It's like, bitch. It's like, what? But it's all right when you do it to people, isn't it? When you treat people like that, and you're supposed to be seeing someone, and then there's someone else in the background for you, then that's okay. It's like you and your double standards need to fuck right off. You know what I mean? Again, that's another sort of thing. This is why it's important to have conversations with people that you want to get involved with long term, to see what they're like, see what they're about, see if they're, let's see if their I suppose convictions, as it were, get stood by. Let's see if they practice what they preach. Let's see if they mean what they say and say what they mean, or whether as soon as they start talking, it's just a whole load of word salad that comes out that seems somehow impressive because they just think that that's the thing, and it's like, well, no, actions speak louder than words. I found it really interesting and funny. It's like how the way this chick behaved, and even from the beginning, I had my doubts because how it is when you sort of like you're getting to know someone online and all of this, and they give you their social media contact and all that sort of thing, and you're watching the slaver that comes up on their feed, and you're thinking to yourself, I really don't want to get involved with this. And again, this is another reason as to why you should only be half in and half out of a relationship like that. Well, no, you should be fully out, actually. But if you're having your doubts and things are going that way, it's like, just be ready to turn around and walk away at the slightest thing, because realistically, you've got that gut feeling, right? And if you've already got that gut feeling that something ain't right, then that relationship is potentially already tainted by your thoughts, whether they are legit or not, whether you have reason to have your doubts with that person, right? So you've got your own take on the situation. And the thing is, it's like, you don't want to be in a relationship where you're constantly you're wondering if it's going to be legit. You're wondering if she's always going to be honest. You're wondering if she's actually going to stick with you and stand by her supposed words of virtue signalling that we all hear so much about. Oh, I'll treat my man right and all this. It's sort of like, you don't treat anyone right. I don't think you treat anyone right. I'm just saying. But yeah, look, man, it's a shame in one aspect. At the same time, it's like a whole load of headache saved, right? It's a shame because it's the time and the effort that you've put into meeting someone else and getting to know them, and even if you did have things in common, it's just sort of like, having a few things in common isn't going to change the way that person is. That is the way that they are. They ain't never going to change. They're never going to find someone that will commit to them because of the way they are, because they refuse to accept that the problem is with themselves, right? And I'm talking in this case like, this is a mindset. This is a cycle that they go through. This is repeatedly. They're probably not going to grow out of it, if that's how you want to see it. That's going to be them for the rest of their lives, probably alone collecting cats, complaining that they can't find anyone to settle down or anyone that will commit. And it's like, well, no one will want to commit to that, because it's just fucking insanity all the time. You never know where you're standing. You don't know if you've done anything wrong. You don't know if they're going to be in contact with you. And all of that. It's like, fucking who needs that shit? Like, seriously. I'd rather sit at home and make dream catches. Quite literally, than sit there going through all that fucking mental minefield of whether this bitch knows what the definition of loyalty actually is. I'm just saying. Anyway, so yeah, there's a couple of things I want to talk about in this one. Like I say, it's like, 2023 has not let me down in dating. It's been just as fucking crap as it was in 2021 and 2022. Well, 2022 I think it was actually that bad, or was it? Maybe it was. I can't remember. I think my brain just deletes a lot of the shit that it's just sort of like, no, too much rubbish, delete that, can't remember that. Because it's just sort of like, anyway, fuck it. I'm about done for this video. This is what I mean, it's all about, actions, fucking, do the actions meet, words meet actions and stuff like that. It's like, do they actually stand by their convictions? Do they mean what they say and say what they mean, or they're just saying it to make themselves look good? You know. And for the most part, once you spend enough time, you realise that it's just for fucking looking good for others and trying to impress you and trying to impress other people around them. It's sort of like, nah, mate, you're all right. I'm done. have fun with that. I'm out. Can't be arsed. That's the thing, I can't be arsed. It's like, as you get older as well, I think it's safe to say that you can be less bothered with people and their bullshit and their drama. Because it's like, you know, you got your own shit going on. You don't need some fantasy-based, created bullshit that's in someone else's head, bringing into your life and causing more drama and problems for you. It's like, who wants that? Who actually wants that? I don't. I've got enough fucking problems. Just saying. Anyway, thank you all for listening. I hope you've enjoyed the video. Thoughts, comments and opinions, feel free to drop them down as always. Until the next one, stay cool, stay free. Peace out.